Have you ever noticed that a tiny favor can feel awkward before the other person has even answered? You type, "Hey, can I ask a small favor?" and somehow the message already feels heavy. Nothing bad has happened yet, but the air around it changes. Most people think the awkward part starts when the other person says no. Usually it starts earlier. It starts in the framing. A request gets tense when it arrives carrying only your need, your deadline, your stress, your convenience. The other person feels that instantly, not because they are selfish, because their brain is quietly asking, "What exactly am I being pulled into?" That is the old Carnegie idea in plain language. Before you ask, make the other person want to say yes, or at least feel comfortable deciding. Not by manipulating them, just by actually seeing the situation from their side first. Here's the interesting part. A lot of awkward requests are technically polite. They say, "please," they sound soft, but they still feel off because the politeness is sitting on top of pressure. Think about the classmate message that says, "Hey, I missed class again. Can you send me all your notes from the last 2 weeks? I've been overwhelmed." That sounds vulnerable, but it also hands the other person a job, your stress, and the task of not making you feel worse. That's why over-explaining can backfire. It looks considerate, but sometimes it just makes your request heavier. Now, they're not only deciding whether to help, they're deciding how gently they need to manage you. So first, before you ask, pause and map their side of the moment. What are they likely doing? How much effort is this really? What's annoying about it? What would make it easy? If your coworker is busy, can you look over this when you get a chance? Sounds harmless, but it creates mental fog. When is a chance? How long will it take? Is this urgent? Do you need detailed feedback or a quick glance? Vague requests feel low pressure on the surface, but they often create more friction because the other person has to define the task for you. A better version might be, "Hey, you're good at catching unclear wording. If you have 10 minutes later today, could you skim this intro and tell me where it gets confusing? Totally fine if today is packed." Now the person knows why you chose them, what you need, how long it should take, and that declining is acceptable. Second, begin warmer than the request itself requires. This matters more than people think. A cold ask makes people brace. A friendly opening relaxes the exchange and reminds them that this is a relationship, not a transaction. That does not mean fake small talk. It can be very simple. "Hey, hope your presentation went well," or "Good to see you earlier." Then the bridge. Quick question. Small, human, and clear. Now, here is the twist. The best requests do not only explain your need, they connect with something that already makes sense to the other person. Sometimes the benefit is social. "You always explain this clearly. Would you mind giving me the 2-minute version so I don't keep repeating the same mistake?" People often like being useful when the usefulness is specific and believable. And sometimes the benefit is ease. If it's easier, you can just send a voice note. That tiny line can rescue a request. You are no longer asking them to help on your exact terms. Third, make the no easy. This is probably the biggest difference between a comfortable favor and an awkward one. A lot of people think low-pressure language means sounding uncertain, so they say things like, "No worries at all, unless maybe you kind of can, but only if you want, and it's totally okay." That does not reduce pressure. It broadcasts anxiety. A cleaner version is calmer. "If you're not up for it, no problem." Or, "If this week is bad, I can ask someone else." Short, plain, believable. The key word is believable. If your message says no pressure, but the rest of it sounds desperate, long, or guilt-soaked, the pressure is still there. People listen to the structure more than the disclaimer. This is also where entitlement sneaks in, not usually through rude words, through assumptions. "Can you send that by tonight? I need you to read this. Let me know when you can drive me." The sentence begins as if their cooperation is already scheduled. A calmer alternative is to ask questions instead of assigning tasks. "Would you have time to read 2 paragraphs tonight? Are you free to give me a ride, or should I look for another option?" Questions leave the other person their dignity. They get to choose instead of defend. And if they hesitate, do not rush to fill the silence with more explanation. Let them think. People are more open when they do not feel chased. There is one dark little irony in all this. The people who sound the most awkward asking for favors are often trying hardest to be considerate. They apologize 5 times. They say they hate asking. They explain how embarrassed they feel. But that self-consciousness pulls attention back onto them. Real consideration is quieter. It sounds like, here is the ask, here is why I thought of you, here is how small I can make it, and here is your way out. Try that with 3 everyday situations. Hey, are you heading toward downtown later? If so, would you mind dropping this package at the post office? If not, I'll go tomorrow. Hi, I missed the homework explanation on Tuesday. If you still have your notes, could you send a photo of that part? Just the assignment instructions would help. Quick favor, would you be open to sanity checking this email before I send it? I mainly want to know if the tone sounds too sharp. If you're busy, I can send it as is. Each one does the same 3 things. It starts human, it makes the task concrete, and it leaves the door open both ways. That is the whole principle. Before a favor leaves your mouth or your keyboard, take your own need out of the center for a second. Ask what the other person needs in order to hear this comfortably. Clarity? Relevance? Breathing room? Usually one of those. That is a social skill, because asking well is not just about getting more yeses. It changes the texture of everyday relationships. People trust you more when your requests feel clean. So the next time you need a favor, do not start with the words, start with the frame. See it from their side, warm the opening, and make both answers easy. If you enjoy unpacking everyday interactions like this, subscribe and let me know which social situation we should explore next.